Hello, and welcome to the Innovia Conversation. I'm Steve Waltz.
And I'm Jeff Progulski.
And today we're interviewing one of our rockstar consultants, John Grant. Hey, John, how are you?
Terrific, and don't go too fast with that. Yeah.
All right, I'll slow it down for you. But we're excited to have John on here. He was going to be our first guest, but 15 episodes later, he decided to make some time for us.
He is a busy guy, Steve.
Holding out for more money. Yeah.
He is a busy man, and so what we have done, John, is we've had a couple other members of the Innovia team. So we've had Tom and Alan and Holly and Chad. So we're glad to have you on here. So for the next 2.5 hours, okay, I don't think it'll be that long. So Jeff and I are going to drill you. We don't get the opportunity too much as the customer engagement people to get one of our senior consultants on a podcast and say we had them working feverishly on helping customers get their systems back. So, but John, we're excited to have you.
Excited, see what. Not sure what I'm getting into, but here we go.
Yeah, so before we started the podcast, we asked John how many he listened to, so maybe he'll tell our listeners the real answer. It's on his calendar, right, John?
Things to do, yes.
Things to do. So, but, John, I think for our customers and people out there in the Nav channel, I think really to kind of get to know you better, maybe you can tell us a little bit about maybe how long you've been at Innovia, kind of what you did before and how you ended up here. That'd be awesome.
Sure. I think I've been in Innovia a little over 3,000 working days, which is, I think it's 11 years, a little over 11 years. Prior to coming to Innovia, I didn't know diddly about Nav, but I had an opportunity to work. My entire career has been with ERP solutions, many different products from AX, which has been rebranded. I've worked on like a little bit of Great Plains, WorkWise, JobBuster, Sightline. So I've had an opportunity to work with a lot of different UP products. So, and as I found over the years, it helps you to understand what questions, like you as a customer, if you've had experience in other systems, that's really great for us when we help work with you, because you're able to ask some solid questions because you've had experience in other systems, and that always helps when we're trying to help you implement and make the best decisions to keep it simple and all that good stuff. So that's my background. I've been a member of Apex, for you users out there that know what that is a national group with supply chain type thinking. I've had a chance to work on lean projects. I'm a big proponent of lean thinking. Whenever I talk about process improvement, I like to think we put a process to it, not just an Innovia process, but a lean is what our company's adapted. And I've had an opportunity to help, particularly bringing in value stream mapping. If you go to one of Alan Wine's presentations, he stole it from me, just so you know that, just to make sure everybody knows. And
we
my
won't
background,
tell John, don't worry.
and my background has always been with manufacturing, process, capital equipment, make to order, make to stock, engineer to order, working with inventory, planning materials, capacity, planning the workload, all those kind of, and costing has been part of what the puzzle too, because you really do have to understand costing when you start setting up your routings and to what extent do you want to put your data in. And I've been fortunate enough to see a lot of different methods, and a lot of different companies. Have been in a lot of different companies. So that's kind of my background, and I guess fun things I like to, my wife and I enjoy, over the years we've gone to, with the kids, they're not kids anymore, of course, they're married and whatnot. Been in about 45 of the states, I think, getting shipped out of a couple of there. we enjoy going to national parks, and in my hobbies, I both hard and soft water fishing. So if you know what hard water fishing is, come on up. Central Wisconsin, we'll get 3 feet of ice and show you how to fish.
As a fellow Wisconsinite, I was aware of what hard water fishing is, just so that's
okay. Known. Yeah, that's a.
We call it ice fishing in Indiana. So, that's awesome, John. And I had a couple calls today, and it was from customers that were actually not our customers that were in a lot of pain. And it seems like, and I want to kind of get your take on this. It was a lot of it was with the setup of manufacturing, their building materials. Their inventory they don't trust it. Their bill of materials wasn't set up correctly. And it seems like, what you just said, not being, a software type engineer coming into it, kind of coming out with real world background, working within, that manufacturing background. You said that you learned how to ask better questions. I guess, to some of our listeners that are maybe, not struggling, but looking for, they're looking for ways to improve. I mean, how did you come up with these questions or best practices? I'm kind of curious. So,
well, like I mentioned, I've been fortunate enough to work on several different systems, and in reality, that a lot of them are very similar. It's a similar functionality, but a little bit different. But when you look at helping a customer implement any part of NAV, and like I said, the manufacturing is hopefully my sweet spot there that I can help people with. It's not, my goal is not that my role is not to implement every possible functionality in NAV/BC, but to understand what's important to your company. And I can honestly say that every customer we work with who runs manufacturing or assembly orders or is set up a little bit different. And part of the puzzle is to figure out what's important to your company. Some of the information we can provide, for instance, we can take your costing, and 9 times out of 10 it's done offline. And I get that because you have maybe salespeople or engineers working up the product. They're figuring out the bill of materials, how much time, all that. And then, but in reality, if we understand if that's important to you and you want to take it from what I call an offline system and put it on your main system, we have a product that can do that. We can get as complex as you want or as simple as you want. And an example of that is we could have one route step, which represents a cell. If it was important to break that down into multiple steps, we can also do that. So it varies by what's important to you and what your goals are. Obviously, some of what are these planning systems supposed to do? What's the difference between forward and backward scheduling? Why would you do one versus the other? A lot of customers will have optimization requirements, simple as I want to run white colored products before brown, before black, or they are in a food process where they're the allergens and it's just the process is up front is just understanding what's important to you and what we need to set up. And I guess that's always how I've felt. We have an advantage if our team can do that and listen and tell you. One of the important things is to tell you how other customers have solved that issue. Because quite frankly, you can go out to YouTube and learn how to run the product. Also, you can learn how to do that. But how to use it is our role to help you. Because we've been in many, we specialize. I would say that Innovia specializes in working with customers that have had issues, and a lot of times when we work with them, we find out they headed down a path, and they're trusting the partner and that has to be part of the puzzle. They trust the partner to make those decisions because they if I ask a company what's 10 things you do well, I don't think designing modifications or implementing software is going to be in the top 10. So they rely on their partner to help them with that. And I always said I used to help at the one, I worked at a CPA firm and was helping teams select software. And I would tell them it's a 7 to 10 year partnership. And you want to partner with a company that you trust their advice and can get to know you, and they can pick up the phone and you know that you guys have been using warehouse management. You don't have to explain to me how you do things. We get to know you, and that's a great benefit of finding a partner that you can trust and work with you.
I think that's a great point, John, because I think some customers think it's almost a zero-sum game. You select an ERP system, you go live, and you're kind of done with it. And you just said, it's a long relationship. It's kind of like getting to know you as you grow and develop, from what you just said, correct?
You're correct, because the initial setup is just that. A lot of times you're set up, and a lot of things get pushed to, let's put that in phase 2 or future. And while you run this way now, 3 years from now, you might have a new product line, you might have another location, you might have a 3PL warehouse, you might be leveraging EDI. It's a constant partnership, and we want to play that role as we're with you. We're not an expense. It's not like, oh man, here we go. Every time we got to work with, it's an expense. We want to be upfront and tell you what other customers have done and be that partner. That's how we want to position ourselves.
Well, great, Jeff. You have any questions for John?
No, actually, I hear him talk way too frequently, and
who's on first, right?
Well, that's 2 podcasts in a row. You said you didn't have any questions, so I'm really
you guys, Steve. Sometimes you have to carry the water, and sometimes I can be the guy who says awesome. So I'm going to be the guy that says awesome, John. I love it.
Well, I'll throw one more thing in there. As I've seen this business change a little bit, now we're heading into the cloud. Azure, I guess, is another environment. In the days of just constant, we're going to make the software modifications have to be thought through better. To me, it's a must-have versus nice-to-have type of thinking at this stage of the game. Yes, if we change that, that's nice to have, but helping customers thinking more of a must-have. It's a business critical design and something versus a lot of little let's move this column over here or those kind of things are part of the puzzle now, more so than in the past, I think.
I agree, John, and you also made a comment that you're part of a team. So maybe you can explain, like what is your team and what's your role on your team and how you guys interact.
Yeah, about was it 3 years ago, we looked at how we were helping our customers, and we decided to split into teams. So we have teams of about 6-7 people, including developers, senior application people, junior application people, and project manager. And that team, I think this is a true statement, will be assigned to you, and that team will stay with you. Because the benefit there is, while your account manager comes on site, if you're talking to the team members, oh yeah, we did the upgrade like a year ago, and we were looking at your standard cost roll up and decided to put that on the back burner until later, trying to avoid having to explain it all over again. And I'll compare that to the accounting world that I was privy to. Is the customer would always complain because the accounting team that came from year to year changed significantly, so they had to start all over. Well, here's the washroom, here's where the files are, all that kind of thing. And we want to leverage relationships and that yes, we know you're running lot control. We know that. You don't have to start all over with how you've got NAV set up. And teams are assigned to customers, yes, for projects, but we're still assigned to them. Even if there's not a project going on, we're still, if there's any major work, that same team would be involved again. And that, we think, has been very successful. So hopefully everybody agrees that that's what we would do.
Well, do you feel that, so you were here before we did the teams where it was like whatever consultant was either available or, you know, how you did that versus now where you're on a team, do you feel that you're retaining more tribal knowledge within the account by doing that?
Yeah, that's why we did it, I think, because, you know, the tribal knowledge, a term from Lean, is it allows us to help the customer, and it's really explaining what we do. You know, so we don't have to go to somebody that we work with, and now they're engaging in let's say another project. You don't have to start all over with who are you, what do you guys do again, how is your what functionality in Nav BC are you leveraging? It just jumpstarts everything and saves, I think, a lot of I don't know, having to
redundancy,
do everything. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you know, it's so when I talk with prospective customers or customers and I ask them questions and I turn over to the account manager and they do, then the delivery people do. You know, was that Ellen where they have like that game where they kind of whisper in the ear and it goes down.
Yeah.
You know, and they try to figure out what they said. So I think that's why I try to have them say, look, when we talk with the delivery folks, you're going to have to explain this again, because if I explain, it's going to be that version of Ellen on that when you whisper in the ear and you try to communicate what the first person said to the fifth person. But I think that's great. And so, you know, like, so Jeff is an account manager and we have several, and I think, you know, what we do, I think, a little bit differently is, so how often are you talking to account managers about, you know, accounts? I'm kind of curious.
Well, I don't have call screening on, but I do have Jeff once in a while. So.
Jeff has like the bat phone, the John phone in his office.
Yeah, it says it's like Bill Gates is on the line. I think
I'm also, as a technical person, I'm able to like hack our phone system so I look like I'm Donovan or Alan or someone important at our company. So then John often picks up.
But yeah, we try and help. Even though we're on a team, we'll try and help. Yeah, just recently, I know for the sales team, they wanted to get a solid manufacturing demo company set up, because, as everyone knows, the old Cronus test company, the bicycle company that comes with out of the box, has got limited. It's okay, but it's not really how you would set up your company. So it's interesting. Microsoft would set it up that way, but you know.
Did you have a favorite account manager?
A favorite account manager.
We'll say that one. So next week.
Yeah, we'll hold that for the next. Yeah.
Or maybe like your top 8 or something like that.
A lot of them. You know what it is, Steve? A lot of them are tied for first.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Oh, I like that. Actually, I think John has a future in sales. Steve, what do you think? That's a great answer.
So I think John is a half peddler. So, and you know, and you know, think about it, John. I think some of your background of, like, you know, being engaged and kind of like, I think you said I don't know if it was sales that you were doing in the past, but it gets you to ask those questions, because, you know, a lot of things that we deal with as a team on a daily basis is sometimes the customers, as Tom likes to say, they don't know what to tell you, and sometimes we don't know what to ask. So I think the more open-ended questions we can ask about their business and learn about them, the better advice we can give. I mean,
yeah, like the theory of constraints is always, you ask why 5 times. That's not too far from, you know, like if someone needs something, we owe it to the customer to ask, you know, and not just because we do that, but
right.
Come back with, tell me a little more about how you want to use that. For instance, a great example is we might have a customer call our support desk and say, hey, we need to know how to set up another location. So if all we do is, hey, here's how you do it, thanks, we haven't done our job, because we really want to help understand, um, you know, heck, maybe it's a totally new location you're setting up, and that's of interest to us to make sure you set it up correctly, because now you might be using in the nav world BC, you might be using stocking B units. It might affect your planning. It might affect this or that, and that's the kind of company we want to be, is to be with you and ask some of the questions we've seen and tell you what other customers have done to solve the same problem. It's not rocket science. It's just a steady approach.
So, John, I know you have taught academy classes with Jenny Hollinsworth online on the NAVA group, and you've done them at Summit. Are you doing it at Summit this year again?
We're doing it at Summit again, right? We put on I'll call it a one-day boot camp for manufacturing. We go from 101 to 300. Go through all the. In the morning is the we get a lot of what is this production system? What is it supposed to do? And in the afternoon might be the planners and the people that are trying to leverage it. And Navig is trying to talk us into like a 3-day.
I thought it was a week the last time that they talked with me about it.
Well, it might have been a week. Yeah. I can't talk for that long.
Yeah, so you're doing one day. I remember when I did it a couple years ago. Are you still doing the candy company? We're going to build a candy company?
Yeah. We got away from the bicycle because we wanted to have a little fun. So we make M&Ms. And of course, we have samples of M&Ms. If you would like to come, that's the product we make. So and then we ask a lot of trivia questions. So we give away during making sure people are awake, that kind of thing.
Remember last year when Steve thought that the upside down M&Ms were W and W's, and he was thrown off by it? We had to stop the class.
Yeah, it was confusing. Yeah, we had to stop.
There's a lot of acronyms in this ERP world, I just kind of miss me.
That's a good point. A lot of important letters. Hey, John, I've got a super serious question, because I've been sitting back and absorbing all that you've shared with us today. So in the case of your team, we sort of have a team that specializes in the new BCSAS world, right? And that is not your team, correct?
Correct. We use a BC, but there is one team with and I'll say they deal with the BCSAS medium size, maybe, and small.
Okay, so maybe this is, but I guess I was interested in terms of your opinion as someone who works with, the manufacturers and distributors, and how you see the future of the BCSAS world and how that fits into the customers that you're working with today. Are you having lots of conversations with them about that? Do you think it's premature for the customers that you're working with, or do you think it's ready? I know we've had a few projects where we've moved customers to BCSAS from NAB, and there have been some small bumps in the road, but it's exciting to be on the forefront of fighting those battles. I'm wondering just what your thoughts are on the whole BCSAS world.
Yeah, it's one of those things, I guess 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, it started being talked about in the cloud, and a lot of companies skeptical, and I get that. Where's my information? But that has been put to bed by Microsoft. Their security on their system is 10 times what a private company can do for the most part. And what's going to drive more companies to the cloud, and we're seeing it, is it's time to replace your hardware. Do we reinvest? You certainly stop and take a look at, is the SaaS, as they call it, ready? Another option is running the BC product in Azure. That's the second option that we see companies moving to, as the true cloud is getting better and better. I think this October release from all the, I guess, what's the brochure shipping product to follow. So we'll see if they live up to the brochures of what's supposed to be in there. but it's just a matter of time. And what's going to really drive it to me is applications that don't run on premise. An example is the AI tools that are out there. They're getting better and better. My thought is, I'll have my NavBC on my phone, which you can do today, but instead of trying to navigate on a little phone, I'll be talking to my phone to say, show me cash receipts for today, or show me the AR open statement for a customer, because the mobility and ease of access to the information is where we're heading. I'm trying to eliminate the keyboard, because if you look at, and I also found out over the years, we install expensive software for a user, and we don't even know if that person can type. And that's just the way it is. But how do you get an executive to use the software? And I truly think it's other than typing the data in, some access, and maybe this voice, this AI stuff that's coming with. I know that Microsoft has Cortana. Is where what's going to happen. It's getting better and better, and you just kind of see it. It's coming a lot faster than I ever thought it would come.
Awesome. Yeah. I think that's been my experience too. I think there are some challenges presented by how the application is different in the cloud compared to on-prem, and how it ties into systems, to certain systems, but then there are also huge advantages to how it ties into other systems. So it's just a matter of taking on as you mentioned earlier, each customer, whether it's designing the planning worksheet or their manufacturing process, or if it's figuring out which version of the application. We treat every customer individually and come up with the right solution. So, all right, well that was my one and done, Steve. So now I'm back to you. You got to take us home, buddy.
Well, I got an important question. So you work with Jenny, and so you got Valerie on her development team, and I noticed the last couple of years when we just did our fantasy pick'em for the NFL coming up, and do you have access to their algorithm? Because they're averaging like 70-some% on picking out the football teams, and I'd like to eventually finish in the top 3. So I was just wondering, do you have access to that?
I think the NSA is going to get involved on that one. I think, to figure out what's going on, because these gals are kind of what's on these picks. So.
Yeah, I need to reach out to them, see if they have one for my fantasy football draft coming up. So I'd like to win that league eventually someday too. But John, so we normally have a contest or we offer up something. So we got to think of something to spirit it. So we are actually having 2 of us that are Cub fans and 2 of us that are Brewer fans that might be on the call right now with me. We're going to a Cubs Brewers game next week for a company training event. What would you call that? Or
that's Steve Walt's training. Yes, I think that's what it is.
That's for a deep dive session.
Yes.
We're going to examine the supply and demand around beer and hot dogs in the Chicago.
Yes, why there's demand for that. Yep.
That beautiful historic Wrigley Field, right? And so, but I'm thinking what we can do. So let's say if the Brewers win, we offer up something Brewers. If the Cubs win, we offer up something Cubs. So how about if the Cubs win, then you guys have to provide a Cubs hat to the winner. If the Brewers win, then Rick and I would have to do a.
We could figure out something like that.
I think something like that.
Sounds fair to me. Yes.
So
I'm with it.
So I guess this is going to be, so should we have our listeners send so that's going to be Friday, the 29th of August. So this should be posted probably right after that. So if you look at the score and find out who wins and emails that team to Jeff or I at stevewaltz@innovia.com or Jeff Pergolsky at innovia.com. I think my name might be easier to spell, and put the name of the team that won, you're going to win a hat. And we're going to make it ship from the loser.
You going to draw names or what?
Well, typically that's not a problem, John.
Okay.
So we are lucky to get one response from our humongous listening population. We'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll make sure it's fair.
It's growing. We had
true.
a listener at Seattle. I was at a meeting at NAVUG in Seattle, and I had somebody come up to me and say, "Hey, I listened to your podcast." And so now that John's on one, maybe his wife, so we're going to get close to 20.
We are
We're going to break a
rapidly
couple of
approaching.
dozen.
Yeah, yes, I'm all about that. We are building momentum, Steve. So, all right. Do we have anything else for John? Because I know he is eager to get back to helping our customers.
Yeah, Alan's probably going to listen to this and time it. They went over. Yeah, I'll hear that one, John, because he's one.
There you go. Yes.
He is one of the listeners, by the way. So,
Okay.
But we do appreciate you taking time out of your busy day, and maybe we'll have you back in the near future. And
maybe we'll see some of the listeners at Summit.
Right, and we're actually up to almost 100 for our dinner, for our Summit dinner. So I think people keep asking if John's going to be there, and I'm like, oh yeah, John will be there. So, well, we'll appreciate it, and I think we'll end it there. And you can, as like always, you can find us on the Innovia website, Innovia.com. We're on Twitter. We're also on Facebook, and we even have a YouTube channel, Innovia Consulting. So we appreciate it. Take care, and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.